The world isn't just
Shutterstock Music.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Black College Experience. My name is Derek Thomas in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and we have with us in Atlanta the founder of Black College Experience, Keisha Kelly.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another exciting show of Black College Experience. I'm beaming. I know Derek is beaming. I've been excited since Thursday.
Yes.
After the draft, I've been excited. But I do, right at this moment, I don't know how often you check back to our Black College Experience Facebook page and see how many people it's reached. But that post that you did yesterday is, I think it's going towards like 12,000 people.
Which one?
And I'm
the one
like,
with all four pictures?
With all of them.
I shared that sucker across every group that I'm in related to HBCU sports.
I think, and there's somebody else that went on and shared it too, like 32 times. Somebody like 32 shares.
That's
but
me.
It has. And I was like, wow. And I was like, okay. It's like almost 12,000. And I keep going back to look at it. Because I keep on coming to think it was like, you had such as, and I was like, well, dang. But good job.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was. I was so excited because I was at a crawfish bowl yesterday. So when you sent that, I couldn't even pull out the parking lot. I had to stay in the parking lot and read everything, look at everything. But I'm so excited because I DVR'd it. So actually, in all honesty, I was only looking for Daryl Johnson and for Titus Howard, and I had no idea about the other two guys. So I'm excited for all four of them. And then, of course, we got some undrafted free agents that's coming as well. So let's go ahead and kick off this draft talk.
Well, before we get talk with the draft, tell everybody about the crawfish bowl. I think you had a Southern University event, right?
We had a Southern University crawfish bowl here in Atlanta. We had over 100 and some people there. Really great time. BJ actually came out. Got a chance to chop it over with BJ. BJ did come out. We had some people from Birmingham, some people from Texas, and of course BJ came from Alabama. So it was a really great time to connect and just do some things with the Jaguars. Of course, I was the big mouth MC. I call myself the big mouth MC. So I was the person on the mic. We played Jaguar. We had a really great time out there. And then of course it's crawfish. So, it was a really great time on yesterday. Now, I won't be making it to the home chapter in Baton Rouge to theirs, but I am looking forward to flying to Dallas June 1st to make it to their crawfish bowl. So, yeah, it is. It's the summertime, and I need a break.
I don't blame you. But like you said, let's get down to it. The NFL draft, the 2019 NFL draft was held this past weekend, and HBCU fans around the South, North, East, and West were anticipating a couple guys getting drafted. You mentioned Daryl Johnson and also Titus Howard. But before we go down the list, first we're going to talk about Howard, Kels. He was drafted in the first round, pick number 23 by the Houston Texans. And, he was really projected to maybe go second round or late first round, which I think that's a good spot for him. What do you think about Titus Howard going in the first round?
Well, the thing is that said that he was he goes from a walk-on to a predicted first round. If not first round, like you said, late first round, early second round. And that's how I was thinking. And so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Walk-on quarterback / tight end to a tackle.
Correct. Exactly. So my thing is, I did. I was so excited watching the draft. And for people, like I tell people, you have to really like sports to really like these things, to watch the combine, to sit through the draft, to sit through all of those things, because it's a lot of, it's not really exciting for a lot of people. And so what we're doing, so what I'm doing is I'm like, okay, you know, you build up intention. I have been watching, I watched the combines, I have watched the single, had watched them before, have been watching them. And it's like, okay, the buzz has started going. So for what some people were just now finding out, we already knew.
Right.
We already knew about him.
Because he
so
had
it's
a
like,
stellar
okay,
performance
so,
at the Senior Bowl, and that's where his draft
and the
stock
Auburn
improved.
game.
Yeah,
Did
I
you see
saw
the
that
game
film
against Auburn? Auburn game was great. So we're like, okay, you know, it'll be good. It'll be good. Well, I watched up into the 14th pick. After the Falcons, I had to run to the airport, do some things, and then by the time I got back, my phone was ringing, buzzing, taking. That's when everybody was like, you included, y'all were like, okay, did I hear somebody was like, did I hear that right? Texans, and I knew without even looking at my phone that they were saying that he had been drafted. So it was pretty. It was. I think it's a lot of static in the background.
Right. Well,
got some background noise.
It's not me.
Nope, not mine.
Well, we'll get through it. But he's the first HBCU player selected in the first round since Tennessee State's Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie in 2008. So that's a long 11 years, and hopefully we can change that next year, and then next year, and the next year, and have more HBCU prospects drafted in the first round and drafted overall. Kels?
I'm here.
Okay. So up next, we had another young man drafted, and that was North Carolina A&T's Darryl Johnson, who was drafted by the Buffalo Bills, and he's going to bolster their pass rush. The last three we're going to talk about all drafted in the 7th round. So Johnson was drafted in the 7th round by the Buffalo Bills. He came out of North Carolina A&T, Black College National Champion, left a year early to enter the draft. Wonder what would have happened had he decided to stay for his senior year, but he does get drafted, and he has a chance to make the Bills team as an edge rusher / outside linebacker, which the Bills definitely need pass rushers.
So that was one of the things I was thinking. I said the same thing. If he hadn't got drafted, he could always go back. But it was a great thing. I was looking for him, and the thing that's really more exciting to me, aside from it's all exciting when we're all there, but what's even more exciting is that the fact that these guys, they were all drafted. Like, everybody was drafted. No, it was exciting. I don't care what you were drafted. So you could say, okay, and it doesn't matter, undrafted free agents. It doesn't matter if you go in on a mini camp. It doesn't matter how you get there. But to say that these 4 guys were drafted is amazing. Simply amazing.
And up next, we have, I think that's, get my scroll on here. Where is my post? Morgan State's Joshua Miles was drafted by the Cardinals, and he's going to get a chance to play with the number 1 overall pick, Kyler Murray. So, hopefully Josh Miles, I think he's going to probably play swing guard, swing tackle, because he can play both positions, and that makes him valuable. Also drafted in the 7th round. Morgan State Bears got a draftee. And it's good to see our linemen get drafted, because a lot of NFL scouts they try and say our linemen aren't NFL ready, or they don't have the ability to have their head on a swivel, or they don't have the footwork to make it in the NFL. But they better go look at the Hall of Famers and see what Hall of Famers have came from HBCUs. And last but not least, Prairie Views.
Go ahead. I'll say what I got to say after that.
And last but not least, Prairie View's Quentin Bell was picked up by the Raiders. So he's going to be a Raider defensive end drafted by John Gruden. So, our 4 draftees, I'm happy. I wish we could have had more, but I'm happy that we had these 4 guys, and of course the first round draft pick. And I think, I don't have my list up in front of me, but I think Howard was the second tackle taken, if I'm not mistaken. Second or third tackle taken against SEC tackles, Big 10 tackles, Big 12, Pac-12, all these Power 5 schools, and an HBCU from Alabama State was drafted ahead of y'all. So, hey, if you want some offensive linemen, you need to make sure that you check out the HBCU ranks, because we have them, and they're hungry. They want to play. Go ahead, Kels.
So what I was going to say is 2 things, and I think we started addressing. This is one of the things, I'm not one of those to be back and forth on Twitter. And unless you come at me or you come at us, then I'm going to go with you. But, as we could see, as soon as the draft is over, as soon as, Titus Howard comes off the board, then the talk starts. Well, how is he drafted and this person's not drafted? I think he's going to be this, and I think it's going to be this, and it's going to be this, and this. And, I can't, we just can't say it enough. It's different if you studied the person, you know the person, you know what skill set they have, and you know what they've done over a course of 4 years, even if you study them for 2 years. But you can't just say or just assume that just because they went to a HBCU that they can't produce. That's the funny thing to me. That's just the funniest thing to me. And I was like, we go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So when the actual day comes and they're like, okay, I'm the really emotional in my feelings type person when they're actually drafted, because I'm like, this is what we work for. This is what we do. We expose your story, and this is what we talk about all the time. So I was listening to Shannon Sharp, and he was talking about his time. And so they were like, okay, well, you had something to prove. You had to play with a chip on your shoulder. He said, no, I didn't want to play with a chip on my shoulder because that will weigh me down, and I had to be light on my feet. He said, I never said that I wasn't good enough. I thought I was good enough. They tried to devalue me because I went to Savannah State. Now Look at me. I'm a Hall of Famer.
Yes, indeed.
You can't even find words to back it up.
Exactly. And I welcome my line brother, Patrick Perry, to the show. What's going on, PP?
Oh, I was just going to say about Howard, all those detractors and stuff like that. He got about 7 million reasons why he can blow them off. He got about 7 million reasons why.
Exactly. They came with all kind of stuff. Before his name was off the paper yet, they started. I was like, God, can we get it off first?
And you're right. I mean, I was listening on the radio. I was listening on the radio trying to see who that was. It was on ESPN, and I was trying to see who was that talking bad about him, but they didn't have much good to say. And it bothered me. I mean, because when you hear them talk negative about your draft picks, it just upsets me. I mean, because a young man, this is his big moment. So, but it is 11:15. I'm sorry, 6:15. My time, 7:15.
Now where you at?
Coach, and I think I have our guest on. Coach Braddy, are you there?
Hey, Derek, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Ladies and gentlemen, let me properly introduce our guest. This is a legendary coach. When I was growing up, he was winning SWAC championships and just being dominant over there, because a lot of people don't know this. I used to play baseball. So I used to follow Jackson State baseball a lot because, hey, if I wasn't going to play football, I was going to play baseball. This is a man who is also been an athletic director at Jackson State, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. He's a local legend. He's also a JSU alum and pitcher, so he knows how to strike you out. A legendary coach, Coach Robert Braddy. What's going on, Coach?
Not much, Derek. Not much. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and I've been reading up on your program and listening to it. Y'all have an outstanding program, and just keep up the good work. It's always a pleasure to talk about baseball to anybody.
Oh, yes. And to get someone like you to be on our show, someone that I followed ever since I was young and admired your career, even though I didn't go to Jackson State, I'm a Delta Devil. To have you
I forgive you, man. I forgive you.
To have you on the show, it lets you know that we are trying to make sure that people hear our stories, hear your stories as a JSU alum, hear your story as a JSU coach and legend. So, without further ado, I'm gonna let Keisha take it away. Keisha, Coach Braddy.
Hey, Keisha.
Well, Coach Braddy. Hi, Coach. Let me start by saying I'm over there in Louisiana, so I'm a Southern University faculty.
Oh my God! Roger Cato, Wilbur Ellis. Oh my goodness!
Don't do it. Yeah, don't, Coach. Don't do that.
They're good people.
Don't
they're
do
good
that
people.
to me, Coach. So now I did. I was reading the bio. I was reading over it. And I think my first question would be, because we see where baseball is going. And of course, we normally start off with the story, but I want to start off with this question: the importance of baseball and the baseball program in HBCUs. Because I've seen how impressive your story is and how the legend that you are, playing for Jackson State and also coaching for a numerous amount of years. But tell us about the importance of this actual sport in HBCUs, because I correct me if I'm wrong, dear. They did just do away with Winston-Salem's baseball team, right?
Yes, Winston-Salem.
They did away with Winston-Salem, and I don't know if anybody in our conference that they did away with, but it is a serious matter, especially when Major League Baseball is concerned about getting more blacks into baseball, blacks and minorities, and I'm just afraid sometimes that our black HBCU schools just don't understand the importance of keeping the importance of what baseball plays in individuals' lives throughout the history of baseball and the history of young people. Think about Jackie Robinson in '47 to become the first black, and at one time we was at a peak, and all of a sudden we're going backwards. And what disturbs me somewhat is a role that our HBCU administrators have taken to make sure that baseball is a financial sport. As you know, in most of the schools, especially the predominant white schools, baseball is a revenue sport. And a lot of the black schools, there's revenue sports, but we still haven't done what we could or what we should do to make it even more financial rewarding, such as building shareback seating to get skybox. It's time out for people to take their own lawn chairs to the baseball field, to be in 95 to 100 degree weather and not have a skybox where you can sit out there and relax. I don't know if the HBCUs realize the importance of it. And two, my thing is this, is that we have to be concerned as to, my big question is, what role should the HBCU administrators play? And I ask the question, are your coaches, are your players going back into the black community to tutor and mentor our young ball players? And if we don't, and it's not a black and white thing. It's not that I don't think we should have non-black coaches. That's okay. But I'm concerned with the effort to have minority players playing at these schools, and there's a reason for it too. Now we get into that later. Have players that are playing at the minority schools that are going to go back into our black community and tutor our young kids who are T-ballers and coaches pitch balls and little leaguers and all that. And that's my biggest concern.
Okay. I'm going to shift this Derek before I say you. Patrick, do you have anything you want to ask the coach before we go to Derek? Because I'm going to come back to me.
Oh, okay. Are you for? We just had a recent ruling. They had the NCAA had a recent ruling as far as they turned down a third paid assistant coach. Yes.
I didn't hear that part.
Can you hear me?
No, I didn't hear. I didn't understand that question. Will you ask it again, please?
Oh, okay. The NCAA, they just recently had a ruling as far as turning down a third paid assistant coach. I'm just trying to see, would you be for that or against that?
Turn down a paid assistant coach. Ironically, it doesn't affect black schools, to tell the truth, because we don't have the number to start with. We should be entitled to 2 assistant coaches and a graduate assistant, and in most of our HBCU schools, we have only 1 assistant and maybe a part-time coach. So having a paid coach, I'm for having as many coaches as possible to do that. But let me get back to the blacks in our community, and we can't say that it's the NC2A necessarily that have kept blacks from playing baseball. It goes back to our own community and what we're willing to do to make sure that our sport program and our recreation programs in our inner cities and in our rural cities take advantage of the tax revenue that we collect to have recreational programs. So many times, especially in the southern areas, that we find out that the parks are just dormant, that they are not being used, that they're not being upkept, and that's my biggest concern, is that we as a black community and as black administrators, whether they're mayors or supervisors or what, don't realize the importance of sports and our kids being involved in these recreation programs. And it has been proven, and studies have proven, this ain't no genie that's coming out of the box. Studies have proven that if a youth is involved in organized sports at a young age, they're not likely to participate in criminal activities. So it's not about getting them to play college baseball and professional baseball. They're sort of joined at the hip. That if you get these kids involved in T-ball, coaches pitch, and stay with them right on up through the high school and the junior high, then you're going to see an influx of more minorities and more blacks in baseball. And get this, it's one thing that I was in the Jackson Public Schools in Jackson, Mississippi, and I was listening to the superintendent talk, and he was saying that there are 21,000 students in the Jackson Public School, and from K through 5, which is the true crucial age, there are something like 12,000 kids, boys and girls, in the Jackson Public School system. So what are those kids doing once school is out? What are they doing in the springtime of the year? And basically the answer to that is a little of nothing. And I don't buy the idea that we're losing our players to kids to basketball and football. I went to an elementary school just a week ago, and this principal let me talk to the K through 5 students. There was 240 boys in one elementary school. There was something like 100 girls. That was just one school, and there are 16 elementary schools in the city of Jackson. So that was just 240 or 340 of 12,000 young kids that's not involved. And I look at it as crime prevention. I think that with our inner city crime rates and what our rural kids are not doing, I think there's a must that we must involve and get administrators involved, rather than talking about building jails and hiring policemen. We pay enough money in incarceration, and we just take a drop of that and encourage these individuals and put that into recreation sport. You would not only see a decline in the crime rate of the inner cities, but you also would see an increase in the number of minority and black players playing a quality high school baseball, playing college baseball, and eventually filtering into the pros. You gotta do that. So it's not about getting them to play pro ball. It's about crime first, and then the other things will take place, will follow.
Right. Now, Coach, I'm from Jackson. I came up at Grove Park. Now, of course, it's been a long time since I graced the fields of Grove Park. How is Grove Park now? Is it still vibrant as far as for baseball?
They're trying to come back. They're making a comeback. They got a little John over there, and I think Clint Johnson, the superintendent of athletic director of Jackson Public Schools, they're involved with trying to increase the number of kids playing at Grove Park. And they're having their problems also of getting enough players to play. I'm in South Jackson, and I have a Little League franchise, which means that we can play from up until July 1st. The rec park usually ends June 1st. But to answer your question, Grove Park is still there. The same fields are there. They're in good shape. They just need participants. And that's why I asked the mayor, I asked the administrators, I asked them to encourage the parents. See, some of these administrators they forget that, and I guarantee you that most of our administrators were involved in some sort of sport or recreation activities in their childhood. But now it seems as if as soon as they get into their office, as soon as they get in their position, as soon as our ministers get their churches, they forget that this is a community thing and that it has to be a combination of everybody being involved. And I think that if we could sort of address those issues and get them on board, that you would see a difference in the crime rate. You would see a difference in the number of kids playing college ball, pro ball. All of it is related. And I'll say this, when you had Grove Park functioning and you had the other recreation park functioning throughout Jackson, Mississippi, you did not have the crime rate. Sure, you can't cure you won't cure all of it, but you can cure some of it. You can't save them all. But I guarantee you, at that particular time, I'm talking about your time, Derek, that you didn't have the crime rate that you have now because the kids knew each other. How did they know each other? They knew each other because they participated and they competed against one another. And the people of that day realized that by keeping young people busy, and it also kept them out of trouble.
Exactly.
And it also taught them to meet the needs that youth have for excitement. You know, youth have a desire to be fed. They need to meet new friends. Youth want to be empowered. And by doing this, you increase the connection between one side of town to the other. So these kids see each other. Hey, I know you. I know you. So instead of having a bat or 9mm or gun shooting at them, they're shaking hands and they're comparing, hey, what your team did. I beat you all behind, or you beat ours, but it was all good.
I mean,
and
because
this is something that we don't see.
Because I came up Grove Park Royals. I thank God for Coach Casey Coleman, Coach Bill Bridgman, because I had never played a game of baseball before in my life. And, you know, it taught me some lessons. I also got a band of brothers, Pat Bridgman, Marcus Coleman, Kevin Mays, a lot of people that I ended up growing up with, but I knew them from the time I was 10 from playing community baseball. And we've all can talk about those memories. And like now the kids now, like you say, they don't have anything to do. So is that what you're trying to change with your Little League franchise? So talk to us about what you're doing with your franchise.
That's the number one priority. That's the number one priority is to get them involved. And by getting them involved, you know, we help them develop their athletic abilities, but we also increase their self-esteem. We develop their cognitive experience, to communicate with each other. And they help make decisions. They out there they're playing by the rules. They help make the rules. It makes the youth feel special, and that's why it sort of like irks me a little bit when I look at TV and I hear them talk about everything except what we're going to do with our kids. They talk about we need more policemen, we need more jail. And I don't understand how they do this. It's not the kids' fault. It's the fault of the people that's in the community. It's the fault of our mayors across this country. It's the fault of our supervisors. It's the fault of our churches. Not enough is done. You know, we just can't build habitats, go out and build a habitat and get some kids involved, or go out and work at Habitat for Sarah to get them involved. No, this is a daily, seasonal thing that should be done. And if we can get them to understand that, we will not only see a reduction in, like I say, the crime rate, but you're going to see it's going to spiral. It's going to ripple off into other areas, and that is college baseball. And another thing there, in case you look, is that when I go to the park, and when I go to Jackson State and Mill South and Belhaven and Alcorn and all those places, to look. You know, we don't even have a fast pitch girls softball team in the Jackson area, and that's one thing we're trying to do. Let them play Little League ball, and when they get to be 9 or 10, the girls play softball. Do you know that's a scholarship? Do you know that's $15,000 to $20,000 a year? If my daughter is good enough to play fast pitch softball, so we got to look at it from that standpoint also. That there are a lot of caveats to this. Not only scholarship, but when you have them in your hand, there's a chance to bring them together for tutoring. Bring a special person in to talk about testing, to talk about abstinence to our girls, to just bring in professional people to show our boys that you can make it. And not only is it about baseball, there's a guy, I don't know if you're familiar with him, named Tim Bennett with Overtime Sports, who built the baseball field in Pearl. It's like a minority, built the baseball field in Pearl. He built the one down in Biloxi.
Come on, Park.
2AA. Tim Bennett. Overtime Sports. Okay. And now he's trying to get back into Jackson and hook on with what we're trying to do. So there are a lot of things that we can do, and I just hope that people realize that if I give a girl or a boy a bat, a ball, and a place to play, that more than likely you're not going to find many going astray. You might lose a few, but that's our philosophy. It's time oriented. We say time versus crime. You give the time, you reduce the crime. And you do that by giving kids a bat, ball, place to play, and they won't go astray. So, you know, I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the response that we've gotten so far. And the thing about it is that we must realize that we pay tax dollars also, and especially now in the southern area. And where we have fallen short is that when integration came, then the recreation in our communities, where we had our own community team, was no more. You had to go to the city in which you were a member of, where you pay your tax, and they had recreational parks, and you had to register your kid into that park. We as black, and you know, I'm not going to be too popular about some of the things I say about these people that get angry at me, but I got to tell the truth. But we won't take our kids to the recreational park. Now, we're paying the tax dollars, we upkeeping the parks, but we won't take them, enough of us, to those parks to register those kids into these community teams, and just stay there with them. Take your lawn chair with you. It's amazing when I go to Pearl or predominantly the white parks, I see little kids 4 years old to 15 and 16. I see grandparents out there with the lawn chair. We are no different. Our communities are no different. We got to let them, expose them to this. We got to let them know that we need your help. And you can't find too many individuals that you can go to and ask them to help a kid. I could come to you and Keisha right now, and I could say, look, I'm having trouble sponsoring this kid, and it takes $75. You would sponsor one in a minute. You have co-op sponsor would sponsor teams in a minute. So we're sitting back doing nothing in our communities. And I mean, I'm talking about us black folks now.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm just telling like it is. I mean, that you won't take your kids out. Now, the grown-ups will play softball. We got a softball league in Jackson for adults. And on Monday night and some other nights, they have tournaments where they play all night long. And if you shut them down, they will shut down the city council. But if you shut down a park for little kids, nobody says anything.
Wow. And
I say this is that we as a group, we got to take care of our young people until they are able to take care of themselves. You know, every species of animal I know take care of their young while they're young until they're able to fend for themselves. Have you ever tried to take a baby chick from a mother chick? A little puppy from a dog and mama? You'd have the worst fight of your life, wouldn't you?
They're going to defend it.
So if they can take care of their own, hey, even a low-down dirty rat takes care of his, you know. So if they can take care of their own, why can't we as a community come together, band together, and emphasize the importance of getting our kids involved, and I think you'll see a difference.
I agree with you. Because I know here in Baton Rouge, there's a strong recreation system in Baton Rouge. I mean, it's always improving. Now, with me being away from Jackson, I don't necessarily know how our parks and recreation compares to Baton Rouge, but I know growing up, I mean, I went to Lake Hocko. I lived around the corner from Lake Hocko Park, and I grew up playing baseball in Grove Park, and those are the most two parks that I frequented in my young years. But I don't necessarily know if it's like Baton Rouge, but it would be good for you to use your Little League franchise to try to attract some of these young kids, give them some skills, because not only are you going to be learning baseball skills, but you're going to learn discipline, you're going to learn respect, you're going to learn teamwork, and those are lessons that can stay with you on through your young life, on up to adults. You know, like now, I think about some of the lessons I learned on the baseball field. I still apply them to my life now. You know, some of my former teammates, we catch back up and we chop it up and we just talk about the old days playing baseball. Of course, you know, the Mustangs were the top team back then. They had everybody, all the All-Stars. You know, but Coach, I think what you're trying to do is definitely needed in our community. To help. As far as my hometown, we see the crime rate. We see officers leaving left and right. And reaching our youth for the next generation is something that's definitely beneficial. And I think what you're trying to do with your name and what you've done over your career representing Jackson State University and your standing as a Hall of Fame baseball coach, it carries weight. It carries clout. And, you know, for someone with your standing to want to give back to your community, that just takes the cake from me.
Well, you know, that's my passion. My passion, and God put in my heart, is that you got to give something back. And there are a lot of individuals out there that have a whole lot to give, and they're just waiting for an opportunity, you know. And there are a lot of people out there that's going to take a lot of skills to the graveyard with them. And that shouldn't be. God didn't intend for that to happen. So, you know, and I'm sure like you, Derek, and other individuals who work in the community, you can talk to many coaches and many people who are out there that have these kids involved, and they have compelling stories about how they got youth involved, and how by getting the youth to choose sport over juvenile crime, you know, and there's a lot of evidence out there that this worked, and not only must we ask individuals to contribute, we must ask philanthropists to contribute. We must ask corporate executives to contribute. And the evidence is there that any financial gift will contribute to the well-being of a kid being saved from crime and going to jail. And that's the whole objective of what we are trying to do, is that, and we got to educate our kids. You know, we got to educate them. We got to understand that first, you got to educate them. And when you educate the kids and when you have them involved in activities, then they're going to be better not only for your community, but for every community that they're entangled with, whether they black, white, or whatever. You know, it's imperative that we educate our kids. No kid should be, in our public school system, let me say this, no kid should be entitled to a better education than another kid in another public school, you know. And that's what we're finding, a lot of inequities, that if you're not in a affluent community, if you're not in a predominantly white community, then if you're in a Jackson public school community, you get a negative rating because they're saying that the education system is not where it ought to be. So education is a vital part of what we need to do in educating our kids. But getting back to what we were talking about, let's first, and I approach it from this, although I'm into baseball, I'm in the National Baseball Hall of Fame, the College Baseball Hall of Fame, I approach it not from, I will give back all of those awards. I will give back every one of those awards if I could see a viable program, recreation program of our young kids. And when you see those young kids running around, if you have any feeling at all, if you're godly inspired at all, it would touch your heart to say, like, ask the question that I asked. Those 240 or 300 kids that I saw, the first question came in my mind was, what are these kids going to be doing 10 years from now? You they're 5 and 6 now. What are they going to be doing 12 years from now? And that's a question that all of us should ask about our young kids. That when you see them out running around doing nothing, you should ask now, where is this kid headed for? Can I do anything about it? You ought to put yourself in a position where somebody ought to follow the example you're setting by being a productive citizen. And that's why I'm investing in our kids. And I'm just encouraging churches, administrators, and anybody else that will listen to not send me mixed messages out that I don't know what happened to a kid because he at 15 or 16 he committed a crime. Well, what did you do with that kid when he was 5, 6, 7, and 8? That's my question.
And then you can send the next great HBCU baseball player could be discovered on those playing fields, Coach.
Look, there are a lot of diamonds in the rough, man. Everybody can't play travel ball. We get caught up in travel ball now. And let's say it again, everybody cannot afford travel ball. It's very expensive.
Very.
That's why there's a need for the recreation program. And I know some cities are doing better than others. I know Atlanta has a great recreational program, and I imagine Southern Baton Rouge is doing something, but it's probably just a drop in the bucket because I used to recruit out of Baton Rouge. Now you just can't find enough black players to play on the college level to be competitive. So people ask the question, well, why don't the HBCUs have more black players? To be honest, they're not out there. They're not being trained. They're not involved. You got to flood the market. You got to get these young kids who in K-5 involved. Let them grow into being something. Let them be excited about what they're doing. And the rest of it would take care of itself. You can't wait till a kid get to be 11, 12, 13, or get into high school and you find out, why aren't they playing baseball? No, you can't do that. So I'm encouraging it. And I thank you for giving me this audience. I think you guys are golly inspired to bring me on because I had to say this. I wanted to say this to not only to our community, but I wanted to say it to our country as a whole, that you owe it to your community, you owe it to your kids. Get them involved. Now, education is always number one priority, but this is a part of the education process.
I agree with you. Now, let's kind of shift to some baseball, HBCU baseball. And this year, we had a few HBCUs take out some of the, I guess you could say, big boys. Southern defeated LSU. South Carolina State defeated South Carolina. Southern also defeated Memphis. So what do you think about how HBCUs are able to, get these small victories, and how do you think they can translate into, wins, in postseason possibly? Because I mean, you coached for a long time. You coached in NCAA tournaments. When do you think we could see an HBCU breakthrough and hopefully get to the College World Series?
Well, let me say this, and look, I'm not putting down our HBCU school, but right now ability-wise, we just can't compete. We just compete because we don't get the athletes that the other schools have. We don't have the budgets that they have. Mississippi State just built a $6 million baseball facility. Yeah. LSU has a great baseball facility. Look at the facilities at these different schools. What are you putting into it? What are you trying to do? Now, I admit that there are going to be times when occasionally we will compete with those schools on a given day. But day in and day out, it's not going to be competitive until you can get the scholarships that the other schools have, get the facility other people have, and most of all, get the kids started at the age that we're talking about, through that T-ball, through the coach's pitch,
right,
through your Little League, through your Dixie Youth, whatever league it is to get them to play right on up. Now, once you get these T-ballers and the coach's pitch, once you get them through that 12 and 13 to the junior high, and then they get into your good high school baseball program, then you're going to see more minorities playing quality baseball. But right now, they're not, because for some reason, we don't seem to see the importance having a first-class facility. For instance, you take the Jackson Public Schools right now. They do not have a home baseball field.
No,
maybe
we don't.
one.
Nope.
You got eight
correct.
schools here, and they don't have a field to call their own.
Yeah, Murrah.
If you go over to Battlefield Park, that's not a facility. You know, they don't even like that anymore.
Right, and I saw.
If you go to Profile, they don't have a facility. Callaway,
no,
Murrah.
no.
So how can these people improve and compete against high-quality high school teams when you're not putting anything in? Like I say, it's no genie that you can reach into the bottle and bring it out. You have to put time in. You got to put the work in, and the roadmap is already there. The map is to get as many kids as you can involved, girls and boys, at the younger age, T-ball, coaches pitch ball, get as many involved as you possibly can. Let them go up through the system, teach those things that need to be taught, and then later on you'll see these schools going out and recruiting good ball players. Now, you look at some of the HBCU schools and you wonder if it's really an HBCU school. You know, because you don't have as many blacks playing on a lot of these teams that you would think you have. And there's no knock on anybody playing baseball. The coaches are getting the best players possible so they can advance to the NC2A playoff and advance. And until that happens, you will not see a level playing field. So it's our fault. Let me say this. It's nobody's fault but ours. And when I say ours, I'm talking about as a black man in the black community. Right. It's nobody's fault but ours that we don't have enough of us to come together and support our young kids across this country, especially in the inner city. And you can hardly find blacks playing in the rural area anymore. You know? So we have work to do, and we can't blame anybody. Like I said, we talk about stories, and we can tell stories to each other. But then let's look at the real facts. Let's stop blaming people. Blame ourselves for not getting the job done.
And you're right. Did
that sound? Yeah, invest in sports is for you got at-risk kids out there who time will be reduced for incarceration. Do you know how much it costs to incarcerate one kid? I don't know, but I just read an article where it takes something like $30,000 a year to take care of one kid in jail. Now, don't you think it's worthwhile that we could take $10,000 or $30,000 and invest in a kid when he's young or when they are young, so that you want to be paying out this $30,000 to keep a kid into a juvenile jail that shouldn't have been there in the first place? And that's the way I look at it.
I agree. I definitely agree with you. Basically,
that's what I'm saying back there. But when we get back, let me say one thing about Jackson State and HBCU. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be where I am today if I had not gotten the opportunity to go back to my alma mater. Dear, my JSU, the blue and the white, the bright and whatever we do, Jackson Fair, Jackson Deer.
Yes,
I went there in 1973, and when I went there, we had something like 22 scholarships. We were a member of NEIA and NC2A. Okay, now in the late 80s, all that started to change.
Right.
Now we went from NEIA to NC2A, where you only had 11 scholarships, and some of the HBCUs did not have scholarships. They had to depend on Pell Grants and all that. And then later on in the 80s, the NC2A passed what you call a Proposition 13 or 14, where they say that all athletes has to score a certain score on the ACT test. Okay, that was good. We met that requirement. Then the NC2A said that later on, a few years later, said that you had to have core curriculum courses. And then they raised the ACT score to 18. Now, who does this affect? It affects those people that does not do well on scoring. So therefore, not only the HBCU schools lost scholarships, a lot of the small schools. So a scholarship decreased. And then later on, the legislature of our state, our state of Mississippi, I don't know about anywhere else, but I'm sure it was true in Louisiana. They demanded that athletics be self-supporting. Mm-hmm. Now, can you think of a self-supporting HBCU school in this country?
No. No.
We don't buy season tickets.
But you just
we don't buy season tickets. We want free tickets. You know, so we don't buy season tickets. So then, if you have to be self-supported financially. Now, think about that. You're not going to have the money to have the athletic program, and now you're trying to compete with these schools, whether it's football, basketball. You're playing money games. Whereas if your alumni and friends would buy, if Jackson State and other schools, if Jackson State would supporter would buy 15,000 football tickets, 5,000 basketball tickets, 3,000 baseball tickets, they wouldn't have to play money games. Our kids wouldn't have to get their brains beat out to get the money to have us, So I'm encouraging our alumni and supporters and friends to support the school, buy season tickets. So when the legislature did that, then that hurt us. So we have to make sure that our players and our coaches reinvest back into our communities.
I agree.
Now, if we're doing that, good. If we're not doing that, this is a question that I can't answer. I have my ideas. I know that we don't have a lot of the players that are playing at HBCUs going back into our community, especially if they're not black. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's my feel on it.
And then you just.
And I'm not being I'm not. Look, it's not racist. It's not a racist statement.
You're
it's
making a valid point.
It's reality.
It's not racist. I mean, you're making a valid point because when you have an athlete coming to an HBCU, we're glad that they're there. But if they're not from the area, they may leave the area and may not give back to the community. So you have a valid point there. Like I said, you just taught me something new. When you were in NAIA, you had more scholarships to give baseball players than you did when you moved up to NC2A. Now that I didn't know.
Not only did we have more scholarships, but we was giving out athletes $30 a month for clothing the lines. We were,
really?
For laundry money. They're getting $30 a month. But now when you start saying you got to be self-sufficient, you don't even have enough money to offer scholarships. And now when you have the bigger schools that makes all this money, now they're going to come together, and they don't want the small school to compete with them.
No.
So you end up getting legislated out of that part. Now they're coming back with saying the athlete has to get paid. But back in the 70s, the athletes were paid. It wasn't that much. But I'm a living witness that they got the $30 a month for laundry fees. And all that was erased. So it lets you know how serious this is and how important it is that we support our schools and not get mad. A lot of people don't support our HBCU schools because they got mad with the teacher. They messed up something about the financial aid office, overcharged them or something. But then when you go to predominantly white school, you're proud to say, I'm a member of the Alumni Association, I'm a member of the JM Club, or whatever. Hey, our school's just as important.
That's
you got to
true.
take the same attitude. And I'll say to our graduates, support the school, not just Jackson State. If you went to a school, don't say the school, oh, me. I went to Jackson State, and I'm appreciative that I was able to get a scholarship. But now I do know that had not been for Jackson State, I can't go around saying that if they didn't get enough scholarships, somebody else would have. That's what a lot of us say. No, you are a product of that school, supportive of everything that you know how to do. And I say to the HBCU schools, do a better job of corresponding with your former students and not write them a letter just when you need some money. Send them a note. Let them know what kind of progress you have, what kind of program you got going on, so that they won't have that excuse that they don't contact me until I want some money. But the bottom line is we got to support our schools with a passion. Otherwise, they're going to become almost non-existent.
I agree.
Let me jump in there right quick. You said something
Okay.
really important. And one of those things that you said was you talked about us supporting our schools. And anybody that knows me and that does not know me knows that I love my school. And I love my school with all my heart. And I love my school through finances. I love my school locally through finances, nationally through finances. I volunteer and I mentor. And I do everything that I can for my school through my alumni. It's not just a homecoming or a Bayou Classic or a football season. I love my school year round. And a lot of times we don't find that where people are going back to their universities. We don't give back our time. We don't give back financially. And it's true. We can go to the Alabamas, the LSUs, the Mississippi States, and we see what they're doing. They're pumping money back into their programs, and you hit the nail on the head. We mad at something that happened 20 years ago in financial aid, and we mad because the professor did something, and we're still holding on to that. We're still mad about what somebody did to us in 99, so I can't give you $50 or whatever it is because I'm mad at what somebody held my check 20 years ago. And that's sad, but it's the truth.
And look, and you just like me. I advocate. I'm a lifetime member of the Alumni Association. I'm a member of the President's Club. But I can think of my own, and get this, they'll get mad at me. I can think of some of my own family members who don't give a penny. You know, so it's going to be our job to try and educate them that, hey, they need your help. You know, don't just be there to complain and wonder why the football team can't win, the basketball team, they can't win. They can't have any money to recruit with. You know, you can't go recruit a kid and then mom and dad want to go out for lunch and, you know, you can't take them to McDonald's anymore. You know, you got to be able to step up to the plate. But most of these schools do not have a recruiting budget. A lot of the coaches are still recruiting out of their pocket. And coaches don't mind doing that. But I say that the schools have to do all they can to make sure that you just don't talk about athletics like it's a sidebar. You know, athletics recruit people to your school. Where would Mississippi State? Where would Ole Miss? Where would lose LSU? If they did not have an athletic program that attracts students to their program, although athletics is not number one, it's just a bridge to get students to come there. And we must do the same thing and then building facilities. People want to know, well, why are all these good black athletes not coming to their schools that their father and mothers went to? Well, I tell you why. Facilities.
And you're not just meaning.
Well, I can have my own room.
Right. And you like
what would I do? If I got to go somewhere where I got to bring my little 15-inch TV set in and they already... But when I go somewhere else, they got me set up with computers and, you know, all the modern technology. I mean, you want the best for your kids. So when we build these facilities, stop building second-rate facilities. Build facilities that are going to attract the best athletes that's out there because they deserve it. And if you're an alumni of these schools, then you need to fight for these schools. Don't say that. It's easy to go somewhere where something's already ready and made. Hey, be a part of making something happen. And that's my challenge. I'm like you, Keisha. We got to challenge not only ourselves, but we got to challenge people that we know. And we got to encourage the HBCU administrators to do their due diligence to make sure that they stay in contact with their alumni some kind of way at all times, not just when they need money. You know, invite them back for a hot dog and a soda pop or something on ice cream day. You know what I mean?
Indeed. Well, Coach, we're almost out of time.
No.
We're going to have you come back on again so we can...
No, we can't. I had so much to say, man.
I mean, Keisha,
but thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Do you mind if we go long this week, Keisha?
Well, I'm going to have to get off. I do because I have another obligation. So, but that's totally fine. I was totally fine to go.
All right. Well, we'll keep on. We'll go another 15, 20 minutes with Coach Braddy, talking about HBCU sports and.
Okay. Well, I'll listen.
So, Coach, like.
Okay.
Let's talk.
You know, and go ahead.
let's talk about one of your most memorable moments coaching at your alma mater.
Say it was beating Southern either. Don't mention that part.
Southern, we all, when I was coaching, we always knew it's not the same anymore that two schools and possibly three would always win the championship. It's either going to be Jackson State, Southern, or Grambling when it came to baseball. We knew that. And then, the other sports, Alcorn. And then once in a while with the Jerry Rice and the Titans, Valley would, you talk about that beating these Division I schools once in a while. For a few years there, Valley was in a position to beat almost anybody they played when they had the Rice, the Titans, and all those people. But they couldn't maintain because financially they was not able to upkeep it. And I'll say this is, and I think it's important. I don't know what those athletes did when they go away and get these jobs, play professional ball, even become engineers or become big-time lawyers. I don't know if they remember to put something back into their school.
Right.
I do know that Deuce McCallum gave Ole Miss $1 million. I do know that Pal Mile, the building up there at Mississippi State, is all-purpose indoor facility. It's named after Pal Mile, one of these professional baseball players. I know they give back. And I just don't know if our alumni, our graduates who are able, and you may not be able to give $1 million, but like he said, if you're able to give $50, if I sold 75 season tickets for football at a season ticket at Jackson State, suppose I want to sell 15,000. If I sold 15,000 at $75, you're probably talking about over $1.5 million. Because you're going to sell other seats, your reserve, and your other box seats, and that shouldn't be a problem. Jackson State, who had something like 45 or 50,000 graduates, and other schools may not have that many, but they have enough that makes a difference. And like I said, we just have to somehow or another, and I don't want to make anybody mad, but then I think Colin Powell will want to say that it's good to piss your adversaries off once in a while. They might do something, So I hope I'm pissing some people off out there by saying that you ain't doing what you should do. And you can blame me, you say I shouldn't. And that's the way I feel. You have a lot of individuals that can do more, and they just won't do it. But then our kids are the one that suffers. Our kids are the one, I was thinking about the leopard and the lion. Well, the lion always would kill the leopard when they would, not the cheetah. The lion would always kill the cheetah when the cheetah was a baby, because the cheetah, if it got grown, would outrun the lion and get the prey.
You couldn't catch him.
So the cheetah had to be smart. When the mother saw danger, they would take him to higher ground, and they would take him up there, and so they could grow up and be fast and run for themselves. That's my message to our HBCU schools. That's my message to my inner city communities, is to let's take our kids to a higher ground until they're able to fend for themselves. They can't take care of themselves. That's why they're not adults until they get to be 21. They are dependent on us, mama, parents, and grandparents would be delighted. You'd be surprised. I go to the ballpark in some areas, you see grandparents out there in the lawn chair, grandma, grandpa. You see little kids. They make it a family affair. And then we wonder what happened to our kids, because we want to do something with them once a year. We want to take them to the what park you can take them to? What can you take them on a vacation? And Atlanta, you got the Six Flags. That's once a year. What are you gonna do the rest of the 368 days of the year? And let me say this, Keisha. This is gonna be funny to you, and don't make somebody mad now. We have too many parents trying to get their kids to live their dreams. You got football being played in May and June. You got 8, 9, 10-year-old kids out there in 90-degree weather playing football. Now, his dad was 5. He's real good right now because he's 9 and 10, and he just, that age, you got the ability to outdo people. But his dad ain't but 5'8". His mom is 5'2". His granddad maybe 5'6". Now, how big is this kid going to get? Hey, right. He's not going to be a linebacker like Lawrence Taylor, one of those superstars. So parents got to do some homework. Hey, these computers let you know how big your son going to be or how big your daughter going to be. But baseball and softball and maybe a few other sports, soccer, tennis, are the only sports that I know that are not size restricted.
Right.
I ain't got nothing. I love football, I love basketball. But I know that if I got a child and he's 5'10" or 5'11" and he's averaging 20 points a game in high school, 25 in college, I know that he's not going to go up there and beat out Magic Johnson. He's not going to beat out Steph Curry. But I do know that they can participate in those sports. So what I'm saying is, stop making decisions that your kid can play one sport until you get to be junior high, 9th or 10th grade. Don't push him out there where in this make-believe world that he's going to be the next Tom Brady or Wilson.
Since you
know what I mean? I see that a lot.
Because Trey Johnson played basketball and baseball for Jackson State, right?
Kirk Ford.
Trey Johnson.
Who is that now?
Trey Johnson.
Hey, yeah, Trey Johnson, yeah. Well, Trey didn't play baseball.
Oh, he did?
Baseball was Trey's best sport.
Right.
Trey Johnson could throw the baseball 95 miles per hour.
So, I know he played baseball.
Trey Johnson first went to Alcorn. He played in high school. And he was outstanding. Look, had a chance to go a long way. You don't even know how far a kid going to go. But then he played basketball. He fell in love with basketball. And basketball was not his best sport, although he was better than a lot of people, most people out there. So what I'm saying is it didn't work out for him as far as the sport goes. But if he had chosen another sport, baseball, then it just would have been better. But there's a lot of those situations around there, and that's why I mentioned to the parents and to the dads, hey, don't limit your kids' time or how many sports he play. That's why I like seasonal sports. I like for them to play football during football season, basketball during basketball season, baseball or whatever sport during that season. And then when it gets to be the junior high, 9th grade, 8th grade, somewhere in there, now he's going to learn which sport he's best in. And that's when he can make a selection to do 2 sports rather than just, can you imagine, hey, I'm 5'9", and if I could run, I could throw the football, but I could throw the ball from shortstop too. But can you imagine if I had stayed with basketball? I don't know what would have happened to me, but I know that I would never have gotten the chance to play professional ball.
Right.
I may have gotten a chance to play college ball, but so I'm saying don't make that decision. Don't cheat your kids out of an opportunity to play what they're best at, because what's happening is they only stay with one sport, and when they get to the 9th or 10th grade, and when they run up on a kid, if I'm 5'10", okay, I'll get at him with the basketball. When I run up on a Trey Johnson or a Malik Newman, the guy that went to from Linear to Ellis, the Ellis that went to ball, I run up on him who is 6'3" or 4. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up not making the team. I'm sitting on the bench in basketball, and then I'm somewhere down the line, I'm going to end up quitting because I'm going to say the coach don't like me. They wouldn't play me. Okay. No, you got your lunch handed to you, and you gave up everything for one opportunity. Whereas if you had been other sports and not necessarily baseball, you may have an opportunity to excel. So that's my advice to parents, to dad, and to mom. Don't be walking around trying to make your kids be the next $30 million man. makes $8 million guy. You're not gonna find me a guy like the guy from Oklahoma that played baseball and football and had a choice to play the other.
And A.J. Brown
So
out of Starkville.
that's my advice.
Yeah, A.J. Brown out of Starkville, he was drafted by the Padres, playing minor league baseball, and then he, of course, went to Ole Miss to play football, and then he just got drafted by the Titans. So, I mean, his options were left open. A couple guys that I grew up with that played football and baseball, you may know their names, Javero January and Zachary Thompson, both played football.
Yeah, with the Callaway.
Yeah, they went to Callaway with me. Levon Lane could play baseball and football. So, when you let a kid or you let a person who can, my stepbrother Rashawn Booth could play football and baseball. So, you don't want to stunt their growth in any sport if they have the skill set to do so. So, look at the contract that they're signing in baseball. They dwarf the contract that they're signing in football. I mean, I wish I could have went, if I could have had the skill set, I would have loved to have been in the American League as a DH. Don't have to play the field. Just go up there, swing, take my cuts. If I hit the ball, run the bases, and go back to the dugout, So
did you just
fielding wasn't my strong
California,
point when I played baseball.
Trout?
Yeah, Mike Trout and
Mike Trout.
Bryce
good.
Harper.
Hey.
So
Bryce Harper, that's those guys. Look, and don't worry about concussions either unless you go out there and run into a wall or something,
Or get hit with the ball.
Football is going to be such a dangerous sport. I don't want to discourage anybody. But let me say this, in order to make this thing work, we're talking about we either talk about what we need to do and what we should do. Let me say that there's some individuals that must get engaged in order for your community and for this to work, in order for you to cut down the crime rate, right. In order for you to, and what I'm talking about is, take your police chief, for instance. If every police chief in Jackson, Mississippi, if the police chief, would tell his guys who are in a certain precinct, hey, I want you once a day while these guys are practicing, just drive through there once and stop and say hello to these kids. Let them know that, hey, I'm a friend. I'm not the enemy. A lot of times we look at the police as being the enemy. And we've gotten good help from our chief of police in Jackson, and we're working on things. And not only that, we must get our senators and our administrators. And I really envision this. I envision that if you had 5 of these individuals, your mayor, your chief of police, your legislature, a common laborer, and if they would just do a video, public service video, and just say, hey, look, I'm Keisha Brown, I'm Robert Braddy, and I'm encouraging you to give the time to reduce crime.
Right.
Get your kids involved in some sports or recreational activities at an early age. If we would do that as a public service announcement, and a lot of times the parents don't realize the importance of this. They don't realize that, hey, if I get my kid involved at 5, 6, 7, and 8, and I got my hands on him, and when he gets to be 14 or 15, I still can put my hands on him. And I've took care of business at that early age. Right. And the problem is that we don't do enough of that, of involving our community people and stuff like that. So I want to do a commercial, time versus crime. Give the time, reduce crime, get your kids involved in a sports related program or recreation. And I guarantee you that you will see a difference in your child's mannerism and your ability to control. Now, I don't want to use the word control. Your ability to be a real partner to him, and he look at you as making him a productive citizen at a later date. So the old saying, you pay now or you pay later.
Well, it'll also
and we need to start paying now by getting everybody involved. We like to say it takes a village to raise a community. And what are our churches doing? Can you ever Do you remember church's sponsoring team when you was coming up? No, sure.
I think so. Yes.
No, it's like I say. We and Pastor, don't get mad at me, minister. I know tithes and all that's important. I know money is important, but what happened to churches and the ministers encouraging their young men, their youth director, to have a team? And if you don't have enough members for a team, join up with another church. That's what we call a common effort. That's what we call joining together. And they don't see any of that in our community. But then at the same time, when somebody commit a crime or shoot somebody, we're ready to have a prayer meeting on John Doe's corner to say the killing must stop. You know? But what are you suggesting that we do to not get to that point? So my challenge to our churches especially is to, and look, pray for me now. Don't put God's wrath on me for saying this, you know. Pray that these kids will be involved and that the parents will get involved. And once you get them involved, you will see a drop in crime rate. You will see an increase in productive citizens. And you will see less kids. You see more kids swinging bats instead of hosting a 9mm Glock.
Right.
That's the challenge.
We have a caller.
What do you think?
Area code 404-9054. You're on with Black College Experience, and we have JSU Hall of Fame coach Robert Braddy. Who do we have calling in to Black College Experience? Well, they called in. Maybe they're on mute.
Hello?
Yes. Who do we have? Caller, are you there? Okay, well, Coach, you still there, Coach B?
Who's that?
Well,
I'm here.
We had a caller call out. I was hoping maybe they may want to ask you a question, you know, but maybe they're just on to listen. Coach, we're gonna definitely have to make sure we have you on again, so we can continue our conversation on what you're trying to do to improve the community and also lessen crime, and how you can, you know, tie that in to, you know, what you did in the community as a administrator and baseball coach. Because, like I said earlier in the show, people know you. They know what you stand for. And when you put your name behind something, they know that you're going to, you know, make it happen. And you know, hopefully when I come home, I can come and check out your little league franchise, and just, you know, if you want me to talk to the kids, and I can let them know, hey, I played baseball growing up in Jackson. It's a good sport to learn. It's gonna teach you, you know, discipline. It's gonna teach you teamwork. It's gonna teach you a skill set, hand-eye coordination, because, you know,
right.
You know,
exactly.
Baseball.
Well, look, I tell you what, I look forward to. Hey, look, I look forward to meeting you, man, and I thank you. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to really explain what we are trying to do and the need for our young youth to get involved. And, you know, and I just ask you to remember one thing, and I've said it earlier, that this is no guesswork. And you can't raise kids by just reaching to a genie bottle. And I want you to remember that it's been proven through studies that kids and youth that are involved in organized sports at a young age, I don't mean 11, 12, 9, 10, are not likely to participate in criminal activities. And that is why,
get me out of trouble.
That's why we say you give a kid a bat ball, a place to play, you never find them astray. And we give a clinic every year. Dave Clark, who's played for me, he's with the Detroit Tigers. This year we had the legendary Ron Pope to come in and speak to our kids, the former coach at Mississippi State. So we have the people out there that really back us, get behind us. We just need the city officials. We need the communities and all those people that's out there to do the very best that they can. And that's the only thing you can do, the best you can. And once you do that, hey, I think you'll see the difference.
I agree with you. And
So I thank you for having me on. I look forward to talking with you and sometime in the future. In the meantime, all I can say is play ball. Batter up.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. This is Jackson State's Hall of Fame baseball coach, Coach Robert Braddy. And, you know, he wants to help our communities to lower crime and teach our kids how to play the game of baseball and give them some skills for life. So we want to thank you, Coach B.
It's softball.
Sir?
I said, and softball.
And softball, yes, and softball. Well, you know what? We had a young lady that played baseball, was Felicia Farrar. I mean, she played baseball with us, so she didn't want to play softball. She wanted to play baseball with the boys. But yes, softball is where my daughter has an interest in playing softball. I took her and threw the ball around with her a few weeks ago to try to teach her some skills. So she has an interest in playing softball. That's one sport that I can teach her because, I mean, it's been a long time since I played baseball, but I still know how to teach her. I still have the skills. So, Coach, we want to thank you for calling in and joining us, and definitely want to have you on again in the future. I'm definitely going to keep in touch with you and just keep in touch with what you're doing in my hometown to just improve the community of Jackson, Mississippi, because definitely we need someone like you to lead the way. An HBCU trailblazer. That's what you are. That's who you are. That's what you've done with your education and your coaching career to help better the community that you serve. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you're doing to help improve the communities, the black communities in Jackson, Mississippi.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Coach. Have a good night.
Good night.
You still there? You gone?
I am. Okay,
right.
so, yeah. So just to end it on this note, this is the end of our show. Just to let you know, next week we will have on Dr. Kevin E. James, that is the interim president from Morris Brown. He's going to come on next week and tell us his story and what all the good things he has going on for Morris Brown, all the things that they are doing over there. Hashtag the hard reset. I've been following the journey. I follow it every single day. I've already had a chance to meet Dr. James and see the things that he's doing. But I'm going to let him come on next week and tell his story and what he has going on.
Yes,
and that's all I got.
Make sure you tune in next week to hear the Morehouse hard reset story. I can't wait, because
Morris Brown.
I'm sorry.
Morris Brown.
Morris Brown.
Morris
Brown. Don't spite me too bad. Put the switch away, Kels. Morris Brown. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Have a good night.
Good night.